Hello from Asia Educational Academy. So this is the third video. We are doing series of important questions from all the chapters till essay 1. So this is type 3 questions from real numbers 1.4. Prove that root 2 is irrational. So for the previous 6 problems we discussed contradictory method. This method is quite similar to that, however some changes are there in it. So first of all we'll understand the basics of this question. Later on we can get on to the main part. First of all, what do? We will consider that the same thing how we did for the remaining questions. Let us consider that root 2 is rational. Let us assume that root 2 is rational. First we'll consider this as rational. Now if it is a rational, we can write as root 2 is equal to a by b, where a comma b should be a comma b are co-primes. A comma b are co-primes and b should not be equal to 0. Now you must be wondering what is co-prime. This is the term which you might have heard first time. So co-primes are the numbers which will not have which will not be divisible by the same number. So for example, if I take p and q, I can call p and q as co-primes only when p and q should be divisible by all the other numbers. No common number should be there for p and q as a divisible. If p and q are divisible by the same number, then they are not called as co-primes. That is what it is. So now we are considering a root 2 is equal to a by b. A by b are co-primes. Now while solving, at some point or the other, if I prove that a comma b are divisible by the same number, I'll repeat once again, while solving, at some point or the other, if I prove that a comma b are divisible by the same numbers, then they are no longer co-primes. If they are no longer co-primes, that our assumption is wrong. What did we assume? We assume that it is rational, which is wrong. That means the number is irrational. That is how we prove. I'll repeat once again. We'll consider that root 2 is rational, and if it is rational, we can write it in the form of a by b. What should it be? A and b. A and b is supposed to be co-primes. What are co-primes? The numbers which are not divisible by same number. Now while solving, at some point or the other, if I prove that a and b are divisible by same number, then they are no more co-primes. They are not co-primes in the sense our assumption is incorrect. What was our assumption? We assume that the number is rational. That is incorrect, which means it is irrational. Chalo. So now, in order to remove this square, we have remove this root. We have to do square on both sides. Squaring on both sides. Root 2 whole square is equal to a square by b square. Square and root will get cancelled. 2 is equal to a square by b square. 2b square is equal to a square. So by this we can tell that a square. So if I write like this, 2x is equal to y. 2 is in multiplication with y, whereas 2 is in division. If the multiplication term, if I send it this side, it will become y by 2. So 2 is multiplication with x. 2 divides y. 2 divides y. Relation of 2 with x is in multiplication. Relation of 2 with y is division. So if a number, this thing, so now 2 is dividing a square, 2 is multiplying b square. So a square is divisible by 2. A square is divisible by 2. If a square is divisible by 2, a is also divisible by 2. A square is divisible by 2. From that, a is also divisible by 2. A is also divisible by 2. How come? If you do not understand these two statements, look at these examples. For example, if I am taking 9, 9 is divisible by 3. Yes, 9 is divisible by 3. 9 goes in 3 table. But 9 can be written as 3 square. 3 square, it is divisible by 3. 3 square is nothing but 3. 3 square is nothing but 9. If 9 is divisible by 3, then 3 is also divisible by 3. Another example. If 16 is divisible by 2. If 16 is divisible by 2, 16 can be written as 4 square. 4 square is, this 4 is also divisible by 2. If square of any number is divisible by 2, without removing square, whatsoever is there in the base, that is also divisible by 2. One more example I'll give. 9 we already discussed. 81. If 81 is divisible, if 81 is divisible by 9, if 81 is divisible by 9, 81 is 9 square, right? 9 square, this 9 is also divisible by 9. So bottom line of all these 3 examples is, if a square of any number is divisible by some other number, removing square, whatsoever is there in the base, that is also divisible. square of any number is divisible by some number without removing the square, whatsoever is there in the base, that is also divisible by the same number. If a square is divisible by 2, a is also divisible by 2. By those examples, we can conclude that a is also divisible by 2. Now, what was our main motive? We were proving that a and b are co-primes. We said that a and b are co-primes. In order to contradict our assumption, we have to make sure that a and b are divisible by the same number. In order to prove that a and b we consider to be co-primes. If it is co-primes, these two numbers are not supposed to be divisible by same numbers, but a is divisible by 2. By doing some or the other methods, if I write a statement that b is also divisible by 2, which means a and b both are divisible by 2. If both are divisible by 2, are they co-primes? No, they are not co-primes. They are not co-primes in the sense our assumption is incorrect. What was our assumption? That the number are rational. That is incorrect, which means it is irrational. That is what it is. Now we are going to prove the remaining part of the sum. Continue from here. A is also divisible by 2. A is also divisible by 2. We'll write from here. We'll continue from here. A is divisible by 2. A by 2 is equal to, I'll take some constant c. I'll take this as some constant c. Let us consider c. A is also divisible by 2. A by 2 is equal to c. So now A is equal to 2c. I can take A is equal to 2c. Now our main motive was to prove that A and B are divisible by the same number. That is what you have to remember. A and B must be divisible by same number. Now A is divisible by 2 we got. We have to get B is divisible by 2. But from this point, can you think, do we have any B here? We were supposed to prove that B is also divisible by 2. But do we have B so far here in this? No. Which means at some point or the other, we have to introduce B over here. At some point or the other, we have to introduce B from this step. How do we do that? Either find some values from the previous part. A square can be written as 2b square. Value of a square can be 2b square. But here we have only a. So if I do square on both sides, I'll get a square. Instead of that a square, I can write 2b square. By that, I can get 2b square over here. By that, I can write that b square is also divisible by 2. A and b are divisible by 2. It is quite confusing. I know that, but have a little patience and listen one more time. A is divisible by 2. We have to prove that b is also divisible by 2. But while solving at this point, I do not find any b. There is no b. What am I supposed to do in this case? I have to do some or the other trick and get b in the picture. Where is b? B value is 2b square is equal to a square. Instead of a square, if I manage to get a square here, I can take the value of a square as 2b square from this part. I'll name it as equation 1. So here I am doing squaring on both sides, which is equal to a square is equal to 4c square. 2 square is 4, c square is c square only, 4c square. Right. So now instead of this a square, I can substitute 2b square. Instead of a square, I can substitute 2b square. 2b square is equal to 4c square. 2 ones, 2 twos. B square is equal to 2c square. Till here there was no b. We did square, we made a square, we got a square from equation 1, we substituted here and we got b into picture. Now b, this 2 relation of 2 with c. C and 2 are in multiplication. If I send this 2 over here, it will become division. 2 divides b square. Therefore, b square is divisible by 2. B square is divisible. B square is divisible by 2. If b square is divisible by 2, b is also divisible by 2. If b square is divisible by 2, b is also divisible by 2. Now look at these two statements alone. A is also divisible by 2, b is also divisible by 2, which means a and b both are divisible by 2. If they both are divisible by 2, are they co-primes? No. That means our assumption is wrong. What was our assumption? We considered that they are rational. That is wrong, which means it is irrational. Few more statements we have to write and done. If you do not understand, skip, go to the first part and watch it one more time, because this kind of questions are quite confusing, trust me. This is not easy. So watch it once or twice, then you'll understand. First question hai na, thoda or you have a little patience. First question, that's why it feels quite difficult. We'll go to the next question, then you'll understand it in a better way. Now, A, B are divisible by 2. If they both are divisible by 2, they are no more co-primes. That means our assumption is wrong. This contradiction This contradiction has arisen because of our wrong assumption. This contradiction has arisen because of our wrong assumption. Therefore, root 2 is irrational. What did I write? A comma B are divisible by 2. If they both are divisible by 2, they are, what will we consider? A comma B should be coprime. What did I say about coprimes? Coprimes are not supposed to be divisible by the same number, but now they are divisible by same number. That means there are no more coprimes. That means our assumption is wrong. Our assumption was they were rational. We considered that the numbers are rational, but that is wrong, which means the numbers are irrational. Statements A comma B are divisible by 2. This contradiction has arisen because of our wrong assumption. Therefore, root 2 is irrational. That's what we do. Next question. Similar question, we have to prove that root 5 is irrational. Instead of root 2, we just have to write root 5. Okay, chalo. Let us assume that root 5 is rational. We are considering that root 5 is rational. If it is rational, we can write it in the form of a by b. So a comma b are coprimes and b should not be equal to 0. The same way, squaring on both sides, if I do, it will become root 5 whole square plus is equal to a square by b square, or a by b whole square, which is again a square by b square. Square root gets cancelled. It is 5 is equal to a square by b square. B I'll take here. It is 5b square is equal to a square. Now again I told you, relation of 5 with b square is multiplication. Relation of 5 with a square is division. 5 is divisible by a square is divisible by 5. A square is divisible by 5. A is also divisible by 5. I already gave you examples there. So it is a square is divisible. A square is divisible by 5. If a square is divisible by 5, a is also divisible by 5. A is also divisible by 5. If a square is divisible by 5, a is also divisible by 5. Again, what was our main motive? We have to prove that a and b are divisible by same number. A is divisible by 5. We have to get that b is also divisible by 5. If a and b both are divisible by 5, they are no more coprimes. That's how we do. So now we'll continue from here only. A is divisible by 5, we wrote no. A by 5, we have to take some other value c. A by 5 is equal to c. We are considering this, that's why I am writing it as let a by 5 is equal to c. Now a is equal to 5c. A is equal to 5c. What am I supposed to do? Now till here I wrote that a is divisible by 5. I have to get b is also divisible by 5. I have to get the statement here. But do I have b in the picture? No. I have to do some or other trick and get b in the picture, so that I can write b is also divisible by 5. But there is no b. But here I find the value of b, 5b square, and its value is a square. If I do squaring on both sides, this will become a square is equal to 25c square. Instead of that a square, I can write 5b square. That way I can get b into the picture. So it is a square is equal to 25c square. Oh sorry, here I did squaring on both sides. If I do square on both sides, it will become a ka square is a square, 5c whole square. Square will go to 5, square will go to c as well. 5 square 25, c square is c square. Like this. So now instead of this a square, from equation 1 I am substituting 5b square. Instead of a square I am substituting 5b square here. So 5b square is equal to 25c square. 5 ones, 5 5s. So b square is equal to 5c square. This 5 is in multiplication with c square. 5, if I send it here, it will become division. B square is divisible by 5. B is also divisible by 5. That's how I am supposed to write. B square is divisible by 5. If b square is divisible by 5, b is also divisible by 5. B is also divisible by 5. Now a square is divisible by 5, b square is divisible by 5. If both the numbers, if a and b are divisible by the same number, how come they are coprimes? Same concept. they are no more co-primes. That means our assumption that we considered is wrong. What was our assumption? That we considered it to be a rational. That is wrong, which means the number is irrational. A comma B are divisible by 2 के जगह 5 लिख दीजिए. This contradiction has arisen because of a wrong assumption. सब same root 2 के place पे root 5. अब बोर्ड पे है बोल के I have this leverage. However, you guys will be solving in the book. So write it one more time if you feel like. Next, last question from this type of question. 1 by root 5. 1 by root 5 we have to prove as irrational. 1 by root 5 नहीं, sorry, 1 by root 2 है. 1 by root 5 भी आ सकता, पर हम फॉलो करेंगे टेक्स्ट बुक, और टेक्स्ट बुक कहता है हमको सॉल्व करना पड़ेगा 1.4 में फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन में फर्स्ट बिट जो कि है 1 बाई रूट 2. प्रूव दैट 1 बाई रूट 2 इज इरेशनल. लेट अस अज्यूम दैट 1 बाई रूट 2, लेट अस अज्यूम दैट रूट 5 के बदले में व्हाट एम आई सपोज टू राइट 1 बाई रूट 2. 1 बाई रूट 2 इज, लेट अस अज्यूम दैट 1 बाई रूट 2 इज रेशनल. इफ 1 बाई रूट 2 इज रेशनल, the same way first I'll erase this a by b. ठीक है, same story we have to do. Divisible by 5. Here instead of divisible by 5, you must have noticed it is supposed to be, it was actually not supposed to be divisible because it is co-prime, but that is not true. We are making sure that the number is divisible by a and b are divisible by same number. That is what we are making sure, and that number is nothing but the number which is there inside the root. That is what it is. The number is nothing but the number which is it is nothing but a and b are divisible by what number? A number which is there inside the root. By this time you must have understood it. Now if I get a and b are divisible by what number? 2 it will come. How? Let us check. Let us assume that 1 by root 2 is rational. If that is rational, 1 by root 2, I can write it as a by b. What should be the speciality of a and b? A and b are supposed to be co-primes. Co-primes matlab, co-primes ante they are not supposed to be divisible by same number. If they are divisible by same number, which means our assumption is wrong. What did we assume? We assumed that the number is rational. That is wrong, which means it is irrational. Chalo. Cross multiply b into 1 b is equal to a into root 2a. In order to get rid from this 2 root हटाना चाहिए, तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? Squaring on both sides. B square is equal to root 2a whole square. B square is equal to, this square should be given to root 2, it will become 2a square. Now relation of 2 and a square. 2 and a square in multiplication. 2 is multiplying with a square. If I send this 2 over here, it will become division. B square is divided by 2. So b square is divisible by 2. B square is divisible by 2. If b square is divisible by 2, b is also divisible by 2. B is also, capital D matlab samajh jao, it is divisible. B is also divisible by 2. Got? Now, so we have to continue from here only. B is divisible by 2. B by 2 is equal to some constant c. Let we have to do this. B is equal to 2c. B is equal to 2c. Now, I got b square is divisible by 2. In order to prove my contradiction wrong, I have to get a square also divisible by 2. But is there any a square in the picture? No. We have to do some or the other trick and get a square in the picture. Where do I do the trick? What trick should I suppose to do? Here. B square already got, no. We need no more need this b square. So b square, यहाँ पर b है, but here we have b square. If I do squaring on both sides the same way, it will become b square. Now instead of b square, I can get this 2a square. I can write 2a square is equal to 2c square. If I do squaring on both sides, it will become 4c square. That's a different story. You will check it anyhow here. So now I am doing squaring on both sides. See ma, only simple thing. Without telling all of this, if I write squaring on both sides and write the b value from here, that would also be the sum would all anyhow be the same. But you have to understand why are we doing squaring on both sides? Why are we getting that value? What did we got divisible by? What else are we supposed to prove it is divisible by? You have to understand in that way and practice it once or twice, then you will remember it forever. Batti mark, if you are doing some, you will remember just for exam purpose. That's all. This is my way of understanding. Else is up to you. I'll understand in that way only, sir. Don't do over matlab. I'll leave it for you. Not a problem. So now squaring on both sides is equal to b square is equal to 4c square. B square is equal to 4c square. Write this as equation 1. From equation 1, I substitute equation 1 in equation 2. Right? Equations are, it's up to you. You can write it anyways. Is it visible? Let me check. Yes. So instead of this b square, I can get 2a square. Because I already told you, b square I already got, it is divisible by 2. Now I have to get a is also divisible by 2. That's why I am getting, instead of this b square, I am writing 2a square. 2a square is equal to 4c square. 2a square is equal to 4c square. 2 ones, 2 2s. A square is equal to 2c square. Now relation of this 2 and c. 2 and c are in multiplication. 2 is multiplying with c. If I send 2 over here, it will become division. A square is divided by 2. A square is divisible by 2. A square is capital D matlab divisible by 2. If a square is divisible, a is also divisible. If a square is divisible, a is also divisible by 2. A square is divisible by 2, a is also divisible by 2. Here I got b is divisible by 2. Here I got a is divisible by 2, which means a and b both are divisible by 2. If a and b both are divisible by 2, are they co-primes? No, they are not co-primes. That means our assumption is wrong. What did we assume? We assume that the number is rational. It is wrong, which means number is irrational. A comma b are divisible by 5 के बदले में अभी आ जाएगा 2. This contradiction has arisen because of our wrong assumption that, what was the wrong assumption? That 1 by root 2 is rational, hence it is irrational. What is it? 1 by root 2. 1 by root 2 is irrational. I hope you understood these problems. By this, important 6 marks and along with it you can say 4 marks also. Most of the 4 marks questions from real numbers has been completed. I've done just so far 4th and 5th exercise. They are important questions from first exercise as well, and 2 marks ke different kind of questions will come, but I'm focusing on those people who have difficulty in just passing the exam. So if you do this, you will get a question for sure, and I've done more than required. I've done this so that you can have a better understanding of what kind of the question it is and how to solve if the numbers are changed. It is not compulsory that you will get 1 by root 2 only. 1 by root 5 might come. So instead of 2, you will have 5 over here. That's all. That's the only change you will have. So understand in a way that the numbers might be changed. Do not be in this situation ke you will get exactly the same question from textbook. 10th class mein that's not gonna happen. So this is how it is. Without wasting any time, I'll end this video right here. For more such videos, keep following, subscribe, whatever it is. Thank you so much. Bye bye.